In the learner journey framework, assessment isn't a grade or a checkpoint. It's a conversation about thinking. Traditional assessment often asks, did the learner finish the task? We ask something deeper. How did the learner think through this? Assessment in our model is not about performance alone. It's about the reasoning that lives inside that performance. In this framework, the word assessment means something precise. An assessment is any point where a learner receives feedback on their reasoning. That feedback might come through an interactive tool, a simulation, or a faculty comment, but it must help the learner see how their thinking is developing. If there's no feedback, it isn't an assessment. It's just an activity. Feedback is what transforms action into learning and performance into growth. Each competency represents a distinct way of thinking, a reasoning pattern that defines professional performance. Every assessment is designed to capture visible reasoning that proves mastery at that level. What we measure isn't the finished product. It's the thinking trail that led there. When learners justify a choice, analyze trade-offs, or apply standards, they make their reasoning visible. And once reasoning is visible, feedback can strengthen it. Assessment and feedback are inseparable, two halves of the same learning process. Every assessment begins long before the final submission. Learners engage in embedded scaffolding, structured opportunities to practice reasoning with feedback before it's graded. Micro-checks like H5P activities and guided scenarios make thinking visible and safe to explore. The number of touch points varies, but the principle stays the same. Learners receive frequent, intentional feedback that develops their reasoning before a summative performance ever occurs. By the time they reach that final assessment, their thinking isn't new. It's practiced, visible, and ready for independence. Aligned assessment means every assessment measures the same type of reasoning that was scaffolded and practiced. If a competency is written at level 3, applied thinking, we measure how learners use knowledge in structured contexts. If it's level 5, evaluative thinking, we measure how they weigh options, apply standards, and justify decisions. This alignment guarantees cognitive fairness. Learners are never assessed on reasoning they haven't practiced. It also gives faculty clarity. Every question, scenario, or simulation ties back to the same cognitive purpose. Higher-level reasoning can't be captured in a single question or decision. Professional judgment unfolds through a sequence of thinking moves, recognizing cues, analyzing data, connecting variables, and weighing priorities before acting. That's why our assessments follow cognitive maps. Each map outlines the decisions and reasoning checkpoints that define mastery. Learners travel that same path step by step, showing not just the outcome but the path of thought that led there. At every branch, they receive feedback that explains why a decision aligns or drifts from professional reasoning. Those feedback moments are the assessments. Without feedback, there is no measurement of learning, only activity. This structure ensures that when we assess, we aren't measuring luck or recall. We're measuring the sequence of thought that defines professional judgment. Our simulations and scenario-based assessments are built as authentic, stable stories that mirror real-world reasoning. The setting stays consistent so learners can focus on how they think, not on decoding a new context. Each decision follows the cognitive map, from recognition to evaluation, and feedback at every point explains why the reasoning works. It's not about testing knowledge, it's about observing reasoning in action, in a world that feels real. When assessment is built this way, learning changes. Faculty see how reasoning develops across a course instead of only at the end. Learners experience assessment as guidance, not judgment. Feedback becomes continuous, specific, and developmental. Assessment is no longer about grading tasks. It's about cultivating reasoning. It's not about one high-stakes test. It's a continuous dialogue between learner, feedback, and design. Every decision, every scaffold, every simulation moves thinking forward. Traditional assessments only show the result of thinking. Ours show the thinking itself. When reasoning is visible, faculty can see exactly where learners get stuck and adjust instruction immediately. It turns grading into coaching and reveals how well the design itself supports cognitive growth. Assessment becomes feedback for everyone: learners, instructors, and programs. Feedback in the learner journey framework always serves one purpose: to move thinking forward. Correct feedback confirms why an answer is right within the scenario's context. Incorrect feedback gives a hint or cue that nudges reasoning in the right direction. That approach creates cognitive safety, a space where learners can take risks without fear of failure. When feedback guides instead of judging, learners build confidence, persistence, and belonging. Feedback tells them, "You're part of this process. Your thinking matters." Assessment in the learner journey framework isn't something that happens after learning, it is learning. Every feedback loop makes thinking visible. Every visible thought strengthens both learners and faculty. Assessment isn't a grade. It's how we grow reasoning together.